Good morning, Milwaukee family.
The host and guest of this particular show.
Good morning, Milwaukee family. Hey, good morning. Welcome to Your Health and You. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me all right. Can I get a thumbs up? Oh, wait. Okay.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, people. Um, uh, some very special guests, and I am Dr. Kevin Izzard. I'm a family practice doctor here in Milwaukee and president of the Cream City Medical Society. And I'm here in spirit with my with the host of the program, Deborah Nevels. Uh,
Hello,
Deborah, can
family.
you hear us?
Hi. I can hear you. Yes, I
All right,
can.
so
Yes, I can.
you gotta love technology, right?
Yeah,
Occasionally
I
things
know.
go wrong, and you just go with it.
You go with it. We know how to flow. We know how to flow. I'm coming live from Washington, D.C., where I've been doing some educating of legislators. Dr. Izzard, you may know a little bit about some of the work I'm doing with the multi-cancer early detection
Mm,
um, uh, screening test. We got it passed. It was got it past first and second hurdle. So this is a screening test. It's just a blood test that can actually test for dozens of cancers. So we'll take another time to talk about that
yeah,
in more detail.
yes, that is
But
a yeah.
that's
That's
yeah,
actually people don't realize that is a big thing, and I'm
yeah,
sure if it does get passed, and it's a matter of when it gets passed, that's going to be
yes,
a big screening test. So instead of you having to have all these individual screening tests, you might be able to have a blood test that let you know your risk for cancer, for colon cancer, for cervical cancer, for breast cancer, all that in just a blood
exactly.
draw.
Exactly, exactly. But it would make a difference for our community. But today we're talking boots on the ground. Our guests today are truly the boots on the ground. And we're starting with the faith, um, the power of our pulpit, healing beyond Sunday. And our guests today, they know a lot about this. They've been doing this a lot in the community. And what we want to do today is elevate. The role that our faith has and our faith leadership has in our health. In addition, making that bridge between faith and everyday health practices, and also continuing to challenge the stigma about silence. We got to learn how to talk about it and be about it. Put the movement behind your words, and also model healing through collaboration, which we're doing with our guests today, and give our listeners today a little bit more about what they can do to make a difference. But I'm going to allow our guests, starting with Pastor Childs, to introduce themselves and give us some background about what they're doing in the community, just to start off the conversation a little bit. Pastor Childs, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Sister Nevels. Good morning, everyone. I'm Donna Childs, the senior pastor of the Tabernacle Community Baptist Church here in Milwaukee, and we are certainly grateful to be here to share what we do as far as health initiatives and looking out for the total person, body, mind, soul. And so Tabernacle does have a health and wellness ministry, and through that, we'll speak more, but through that, several initiatives have been embarked upon and shared upon with our congregation and the community at large. And it really stems from our mission. And our church's mission is to empower and transform lives through the Word of God and ministry. So everything we do, every decision, every event is to empower lives, transform lives, and that is not just spiritual, but also through health and emotional situations. So again, thank you for being here. I look forward to sharing what we're doing and to sharing the love that we have for taking care of our people and our community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we'll start next with gentleman next to you. He's also doing a lot in the community. We've seen you a couple of times on the show. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Brian Mitchell. I am the president of the men's ministry at St. Mark AME Church. We, in the AME Church, African Methodist Episcopal Church, our men's ministry is called the Sons of Allen after our founder, Richard Allen. So I am the president of the men's ministry for St. Mark, as well as for our region, which includes all of Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa, Canada, and India. So I'm trying to carry the message and some of the good work that we're doing, the partnership that we have with the Medical College of Wisconsin to raise awareness, not just here in the Milwaukee area in Southeast Wisconsin, where they can come to the Medical College of Wisconsin in Frederick, but also to carry that message throughout my footprint, because it's an important message that impacts Black men all across the country. And I found that myself, I have family in most of that footprint, and there's a lot of us that there, so we can share that message and carry it across the state lines. We can impact beyond just our local area. Because the information
Definitely.
is universal.
Definitely.
We got another young man here at the end.
I see. I saw you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yes,
Good morning, Mr. Baxter. Good morning.
Program for prostate cancer, and we are prostate cancer survivors, and in that process, we also realized how long it took for us to wake up and realize that getting checked was the most important thing that you could do. I was one of those that were a little stubborn about that because I felt good. So you didn't feel that there was any need for any running to the doctor. But as time went on, I realized that by a friend of mine who called me and said, asked me the question, have you been checked? And my response to him, say, for what? And he indicated that prostate cancer, man, is running rapid. You need to get checked. And sure enough, I did, and realized that I was one of those that was running around in denial. Just because you don't feel hurt does not mean that cancer is not in the body. And so what I discovered in that process was don't wait, get checked, because when I did, I only had a few months before it probably would not have been able to be rectified. That's how close I was. So I become more passionate about this in our communities, in our families, in our churches, wherever we are in that mode now.
Yeah.
To make sure that we inform our constituents to get checked, because that's the first step in healing is recognizing that you have the problem. So,
you know what? Before you even get started, I think it's very important that we acknowledge the reason why why we have these religious people up here talking about this, because traditionally the church has been one of those institutions in the Black community where where we've been able to push forward on a lot of social issues, a lot of things that affect our lives, and you can't separate what's going on with you physically without acknowledging also what's going on with you spiritually and emotionally.
Absolutely.
And so we're all biopsychosocial spiritual beings.
Yes.
And so you can't address the prostate without addressing what's going on in your family and how it affects the rest of your family and how it affects your community. So all those things are all intertwined. It's a big ball of yarn, and you can't just pull on the string without trying to address those other things.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So true, Dr. Izzard. And there's been moments when I know of individuals um, who get the diagnosis and they're like, okay, I need a minute, and I got to get my prayer warriors together, and they get in their prayer closet, and they call their pastor, and they call that one sister or that brother that prays with them, and they are there all the time. And I can even speak to my niece. My niece was diagnosed at 35 with breast cancer. And I went with her as she did her journey. And before they even put the medicine in, before her chemo treatments, we would pray. And even the nurse that was doing it prayed with us because, and Amber would say, before you start each time, I would like to pray before the medicine goes in me, because I want to thank God for the medicine, thank God for you, but I want to pray for both. And so before it would even start, we would start praying beforehand. So it's that faith walk that is so important, that cannot be ignored. And it's that positive mindset that, and Pastor Childs and Mr. Mitchell, don't. Look, my grandfather was the pastor. Not me. I'm not the one. But it's that where one or two are gathered, that's what makes a difference. And when you know that you got him on your side, walking with you in that room, it's that faith of a mustard seed that makes a difference.
Yeah.
And you walk in with a whole new attitude.
Right.
Walk in with a whole new attitude.
Right.
So
and even taking it from a medical point of view, there are a lot of studies that show that people who are spiritually minded, not even just Christian, but people of other faiths, people who pray, people who meditate, they do better with their health when they meet a health crisis, because they have some a whole nother realm to pull from, and when you and those things, even from just again from a biological biomedical point of view, hormones are released during times when you when you meditate, that and the stress hormones go down. There's serotonin, and other endorphins that help you to better deal with health crises. And so your immune system is working better, your blood pressure is better, all those things. Unfortunately, they've done studies looking at the interventional prayer, whether that works, and there hasn't been any studies that definitively show that interventional prayer actually has been able to show from a scientific point of view, that it's reduced the outcome or changed the outcome. But definitely, there's people who pray are affected by prayer. So it's not just the person that you're praying for, but you are better when you pray for somebody else.
Absolutely.
You benefit from it.
Yeah.
And Mr. Baxter, if you would, as a health griot and also a church member, what do you see as the role of the pulpit in shaping conversations around health and healing?
Well, it's one of those situations where when you talk about faith, it's something that has been practiced for quite a few years, but you also can take for granted even going to church being a routine, being an obligation, being part of responsibility, and so how serious are you really taking it? And then the light comes on at that time when you get to that crossroad where you don't have any answers, and you think in terms of, where do I turn now? And that's when you really find that the faith that you have and the door that's open to you in that realm is time to touch. It's time to be a process. It's time to do what you've been talking about doing. It's time to reach out. It's time to find out more and more of what can I do to help someone else. And so those particular attitudes start to develop when the situation hits you. that you need help.
Mm-hmm.
And so being in that realm keeps you from missing the opportunity to get what you need just by being in that realm. And so what I have done and have practiced is being associated with somebody's church wherever you are. I can never forget, my mother told me when I left the state of Alabama, the first advice she gave me was make sure when you get to Milwaukee, you find a church home.
Mhm.
And so that was early in my life. And so from that perspective and from that advice, I can say it truly paid off because the people that welcomed me, the people that said, come on in, was church based. They had that openness to strangers. And so it fed into me all the way through my service. When I was in service, I was able to participate with those that didn't take it seriously, but there was always a group that you could get together with. And so it's been a practice all the way through. And when it came to the fact of my health situation, I found myself again looking there first. But my boldness and my blessing that I'd had being healthy had kind of spoiled me. It put me in that perspective that other folks get sick, but maybe I'm one of those that's escaping, you see. And so when it did come, the reality set in again and said, okay, this is why you have been where you've been. This is why you've been associated with what you've been associated with. And now it's your time
Mm-hmm.
to reach out, touch, and help someone else. And so that's my perspective on it. And that's why I'm here at the Griot Group, simply because of the fact I realized there's folks out there that thought just like I did.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen to me, but it did. So I'm committed to do all that I can, wherever I can, when it comes to enlightening our community and our families on this dreadful disease. And I was in a meeting and they were giving statistics about this prostate cancer. And it just so happened that our group happened to be number one as far as prostate cancer was considered, and growth and growing, meaning the lack of knowing, the lack of testing, the lack of knowledge is where we were and where we still are. That's why I'm fighting and going to do all that I can to make sure that we do reach our people, because without them knowing, this will continue. We will continue to be on the highest percentage of those that perish from this dreadful disease.
Mm.
And those statistics are staggering, Mr.
They are.
Baxter. You are so true. And Dr. Izzard, you have mentioned the research with regards to faith.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is research that shows the impact of social isolation
Yes. Oh, I'm
on
glad you.
health.
That's also my. But
Is that where
listen,
you
that's
about
what
to
we're
go?
talking about this morning. Yeah.
It's at mine. It's at mine.
There you go.
But with the social isolation, if you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to call my prayer warrior, if I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
call for intercessory prayer, I'm no longer alone. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sitting in by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have someone we're going to call, someone we're going to ask to pray for me, pray with me. If I'm going to get up, get dressed, go into the sanctuary, I'm not going to be alone. I'm going to be with like-minded people. I'm going to hear a message that's going to uplift me, and it's that accountability. And I want to go to Mr. Mitchell and talk a little bit. That accountability is kind of what you've committed to do, and also Pastor Childs. But Mr. Mitchell, I want to go to you with the Sons of Allen. You've made a ministry that kind of is an accountability for Black men's health, or for men's health with your ministry, and you agreed to participate in the Pin a Brother program. And I want to hear a little bit about what moved Sons of Allen to decide that you wanted to participate in this program. And Pin a Brother is a program that is a commitment to men to make to each other, to make sure that they're going to get their health exams in general, but prostate PSA exams more specifically, that they partner up and just say, I'm going to make sure that I remind you that you get this done. So, Mr. Baxter, if you could tell us a little bit more about what made Sons of Allen want to do this.
So we, our ministry, we have different commissions and things that we're focused on. And so one of those, well, two of them that fit into this program are around education and Christian fellowship. And so getting the word out has been something that we've done. We had a health fair where we had screenings in June. And so this was kind of the natural follow-up to that June event, was to have that commitment to stand up, provide information to the men of the church, and also to the women to take home to their husbands, fathers, nephews, cousins, or whoever else, their loved ones, to get the information, to get checked, to have those conversations about family history. It was easy for me. My dad told me he had prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out that my uncle on my mom's side had prostate cancer as well. So I had on both sides of the family. And so my dad was probably 17, 18 years ago. And my uncle, I talked with him last night. He said yesterday was the 14th anniversary of his surgery to remove his prostate. So, and so I'm 54 now. So I was 40 when he had his surgery. And so I'd already been getting checked, given family history, but having those conversations to understand family history, I think that's what's really been lacking, is those conversations that people have gone through it, to let others know, yeah, you need to get checked. It's either been a stigma or pride or whatever the reason has been. We haven't talked about it. And so having this opportunity in these programs and working with the Medical College of Wisconsin and the outreach programs, we've tried to take advantage of that as much as we could, whenever we could, to bring that to our congregations, to our community, our extended community, to make that information available.
Awesome. And Pastor Childs, you also are participating with the Pin a Brother. You have an event coming up on September 28th. What exactly was your thoughts in having that, participating in the program?
It was definitely important for Tabernacle. We have so many members that are facing health challenges, and so that was crucial. But also just scripture. John said in 3 John, he said, I pray that you may be well, all will go well with you, and that you may be in good health. And so from the scripture, the commission is that we are well and in good health. That's just not, again, spiritually, as Dr. Izzard said, ministry is definitely a holistic approach. And so we want our members and community to be well, mind, body, soul, spirit, religiously, spiritually, all that. And so it was easy for me to say yes to the Pin a Brother because personally, my father had prostate cancer, 2 brothers, 1 nephew, several friends, the list goes on. And so it's important to know that there are several things you can do early on. First of all, maybe to prevent it, but it is a curable disease if caught early. And so I just need to spread the word. I believe as pastor, you're called not just to preach the gospel on Sunday morning, but we're called to educate, to make sure that people know they're knowledgeable, to empower them. And so definitely this was crucial. And again, as a shepherd or pastor, I love my people, I love my members, love my sheep. And so I want to do all that I can as a pastor to make sure that Tabernacle has, again, various activities, events, resources, people that we're connecting with, particularly for health initiatives and health knowledge. So again, we're looking forward to the Penner Brother to once again get the word out.
We definitely thank you, Pastor and Mr. Mitchell. These opportunities are extremely important, and know that you're implementing these programs are helping us design and develop what the programs will look like for the other counties within our service area. We serve a total of 29 counties going all the way up north. And as we do the programming down here, it gives us a model for how we will do the programming in other faith communities up north. So truly, Mr. Mitchell, as you said, your footprint, you all's footprints will be going up as we move up further. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we want to hear from you, Milwaukee. We want to hear from our Milwaukee family. Again, we're talking about the power of the pulpit, healing, and beyond Sunday. We'll catch you on the other side.
We have a distinguished panel here talking specifically about prostate cancer, but in general about faith in medicine, basically the power of the pulpit, healing beyond Sunday. And I'm here in the studio in Milwaukee, and we got our friend, host, Deborah Norville, who was in Deborah Norville. Oh,
Wow.
yeah, I know, right?
Wow, Dr. Izzard.
Yeah,
Really?
Deborah's in Washington D.C. Doing the Lord's work there, and we are here doing the work here. In fact, during the break, we were talking about. I was asking Mr. Baxter about how he became a griot, and it's actually a very interesting story. So the griot, and maybe he can explain a little more about this. The griot are men who are prostate cancer survivors who have committed to telling their story. In other words, giving their testimony.
Right.
And so the power of the testimony, you can argue with people about their opinion about things, but you can't argue with someone's testimony. That's their story. That's what God's given them. And so the griots basically give their testimony. You want to tell us how you got involved? How you became a griot? Pops.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, it was one of those situations that I was called by a friend of mine, and asked the question, "Have you been checked?" That's how this all started. And immediately I got a little on the fence, checked for what? And that conversation involved, he says, "Listen, if you haven't, you need to. You're older than I am." And so I was checked, and I have prostate cancer, and now I'm in treatment. And so I was suggested you get checked. And I began to try and talk him into, I don't need to, and he hung up on me. And so it kind of infuriated me a little bit, he's hanging up on me. But anyway, what happened was, out of that, I made it home. And when I got home, my wife says to me, "John, you need to listen to some of the stuff that's going on. I don't know if you have been checked or not, but they're talking about prostate cancer on WNOV." I said, "What about it?" He said, they're looking for people that they can find in the community that have not been checked. They need to get in and get checked because this is something that's running rapid." And I'm saying to her, I haven't heard too much about this. So I'm taking it very casual. But at the same time, I was still infuriated about the fact that I'd got hung up on. And now the same day, my wife is pounding me on this deal. So I said, I'll go get checked. Just that cavalier. And walked into the doctor's office. PSA test was given it. Find out it was elevated. Now you got to see an oncologist.
How old are you at this time?
I'm 74 years old.
When you got checked?
Yeah.
First time?
Yeah, first time. So I realized as time went on how blessed I've been for 74 years not to be caught and gone. Okay. So my commitment was automatic after that because being in the faith, knowing that the master takes care of all of us.
Yes.
It behooved me to really focus. And so what I did is I went straight to that doctor. He checked, found out, yes, you got to be, either you got to get radiation or you got to have it operation.
Yeah.
All of these things is happening all at just one time. And to make a long story short, I went into the doctor, got this checked. 3 days later, I got sick, and it was like fever. I went back to the hospital, and what had happened, for some kind of reason, sepsis, it got into my system.
Yeah.
And that's what had me so sick.
Right.
But they were able to rectify that. And then I come through that, and now it's time to take care of the other part.
See, that was God getting your attention. That's what we call a coincidence. I put that in quotations.
Yes. And so at that point, it was a matter of deciding what direction we was going to take. and radiation was what we come up with.
Uh-huh.
All right. And so we set that up. Make a long story short, we went through the radiation treatment, not knowing exactly what the results would be until at the end of it, because they don't give no absolutes.
Right.
All right. And so at the end of that process, radiation rectified the situation. And I walked out ringing the bell, and my whole commitment was thank you, Lord. And I'm going to help somebody.
Uh-huh.
And didn't know exactly how, because we still had steps we had to go through. But the minute the opportunity presented itself that I could reach out and help someone else, I was on board.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's how I got really locked in. So I didn't care what the program was. I would go get the information and make sure I spread the word. And so that's the commitment that I made the moment I found myself on this journey. And now family, I've just made connections with family in different states, in different places now. And I'm trying to push even in that direction, tell them, talk, get someone there, find the doctors, So it's one of those situations that it's all directed by our master, the Lord. He did this, because he knew this stubborn fella he had here was not on anybody's journey in that direction. But it just so happened after all of those particulars did occur, it locked me in.
That guy, he knows what he needs to do to get to each one of us.
Right.
It's all different.
And from that, I'm committed and will stay committed until he called me home.
I think it's interesting that you had your friend and your wife on the same day.
On the same day. Same day. It was like a bombardment.
And so I think it's important, as we talk about these things, I noticed when we were going through our report for our district level, and I said, September's Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, that we're going to be doing this program, that one of the former pastors, my presiding elder, said, well, I survived prostate cancer. And when I told the congregation about it, I was hesitant to come out because how much of it is personal and that, but he wanted to also level set that things may be different as he goes through this. And then that was the door to open up for conversations for other men to have about their journey or to go get checked. So it's important that we have these conversations because that might be the tipping point to get someone to spur someone to action.
And we even mentioned that, family history. A lot of times we don't talk about family history. We want to keep things private. I don't want people fussing over me, but it's important that you know your family history, because and again, more to the point here is that we usually start screening for prostate cancer at age 50. If you're high risk, and African-American men, we're higher risk. So we start screening at 45. If you got a family history though, let's say someone came in at 45 and they had prostate cancer already at that first exam. That means they have an exceptionally aggressive form of it. So we tell the family members they should be screening 10 years earlier. So they should be getting screened at 35. Okay. And so so you should be getting screening 10 years before that first degree relative. First degree meaning brother, son, or father. So it's important we talk about family history. Let people know. And Pastor Charles, and you mentioned that you got your dad and two of your brothers. So and John, you mentioned your wife. Was one of the people that prompted you to get tested. So as the female in the room here, how do you feel that you can make a difference in getting getting people that you care about, the loved ones in your life checked for prostate cancer?
Sure. I think you mentioned it, doctors, that the testimonial piece is big. To let them know that, again, it touched me personally. And I meant to say 3 brothers, actually, and my father and nephew and some other family friends. So I think just if they hear the sincerity of my heart, but also I think the pastor has to do the research, so I'm not just saying something, but I'm doing the research. I'm going to webinars and classes so that I can learn and be knowledgeable. of prostate cancer and other cancers as well. So that again, they know that I'm sharing this from not just my heart, but also from the mind, from doing some education, and knowledge research. But also, I think people trust. They should trust the pastor if the pastor is receiving from God. And so, as pastor, I'm seeking the Lord for programs, for initiatives, which way to go, direction. And so, hopefully, people will receive that this is spirit driven. The programs that we bring, the research that we bring reliable information, reliable sources, reliable resources. And so I'm definitely passionate because, again, this is my calling. But it's also, again, I want to make sure people are well. And I'm really disappointed that our community, still we have disparaging health concerns. Dr. Martin Luther King said it best, I believe. I'm paraphrasing, but that it's an injustice still that healthcare, is different for us. And so 2025, that's still occurring. And so I just want to make sure that we can level the playing field. And so because of the voice I have in the pulpit, I believe that's the way that I can help to reach people and to make sure they understand. Again, we have spiritual things going on at Tabernacle, but we also have mental, physical. We were blessed, in fact, MCW, Freighter, that came and did breast exams. And one of our members came out, or one of our ladies, and she actually, through that testing, found out she had breast cancer and was able to get treated. What a blessing that, she would never have come probably because we pushed it, because I was able to, to voice it and really try to reiterate the importance of it. She came and was able to have that taken care of. And so just really critical that, again, we are speaking up. And I thank God for the partnerships that Tabernacle has had over the years, Aurora, MCW, even with the medical maternal mobile unit that we have through Freighter coming to Tabernacle every other Wednesday. So just important. It's just, for me, I just believe that I'm not doing my job, my calling, if I don't include every part of the human being's aspect of living.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
That is so true. That is so true. And we thank you, Pastor Childs, for your collaboration, and Mr. Mitchell for Sons of Allen. Both of you are participants in the Medical College has a faith-based program led by Melanie Burns, Ribbons of Faith, and you all are part of that, and we really do appreciate it. I want to back up just really quickly. Dr. Izzard, you had mentioned the family, talking about the hereditary piece of it and genetics. And we actually have a free program tomorrow at the Thrive On building beginning at 10 a.m. when we are talking about genetics, and have our geneticist, Jenny Gertz, who is actually going to be talking a little bit about the genetics behind cancer diagnoses, and have some sisters, 3 sisters who have experience of being survivors and thrivers and previvors by taking things in their hands and getting tested, and taking preventative measures based upon the genetics and testing positive for certain genetic markers that indicate that they are susceptible to certain types of breast cancer. So that program is happening tomorrow at the Thrive On building, completely free, begins at 10 a.m. And goes until
Previvors, huh?
Yeah, Previvor. Yeah, they taught me a new word. Yes, and it's the group is called Families Fighting Hereditary Cancer. 3 African American women who founded the organization. They are phenomenal. But I also wanted to, I think, as we talk about the knowledge and Mr. Baxter specifically, and I also want to ask Milwaukee family, you all call in. We want to hear from you too. The phone number 414-444-5253 or 414-444-5250. Want to hear from you also. But Mr. Baxter, you committed to be able to tell more people and inform more people, but you reached beyond your family. You took another step that was really, really powerful and impactful, and will leave your mark beyond your family. And you participated in a research study, in the Men Moving Forward research study, which was a behavioral study. But what made you decide you wanted to participate in research?
Well, Just getting into this program, finding out what I found out about myself, being able to rectify it, said to me, any way that you can possibly participate in this program to help someone else, you got to do it. And it was impulsive, but at the same time, it was real, because I really felt that the master had truly saved me after all these years, 74 years, and could have been walking around with this for I don't know how long, but it had not gotten to the point to wherein it was eliminating me from this earth. And so the conviction that whatever I can do, however I can participate, whatever information I can put out, share with anybody, anywhere. And so this research program was going to help us even get better and more information about this circle of men that seem to be really aggressively having this problem. And so that inspired me to be a part of it any way that I can help. And so the research program, when we come back with some of the results and we see some of the improvements that are starting to occur, it really makes your heart feel good that you did the right thing. And so I'm encouraging that for others, that because we're reluctant sometimes to participate in programs. I know I'm personally, I speak for myself in that we just don't participate in research. And so by not participating, you're uninformed. So in order to be informed and be a part of this movement of rectification, we have to get involved. And so that's what drove me to be able to participate in whatever part of the program was available, and I could play a part. Call me. I'm ready to go.
Hey, you know what? Another thing that Mr. Baxter, he might not be aware of this, but the guidelines right now say that we should start screening guys at like I said, at 45 if you're high risk group, 10 years before the first degree relative was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and we should stop screening at 75 because usually, and again, some is going to depend on your general health, but usually these cancers are slow growing. So if we catch a cancer at 75, the chance of you dying by 85 from the prostate cancer is probably lower. You probably die from something else in that time. Okay. So you didn't even know this, you probably didn't know this, but no one would have asked you anymore after 74. So that was your last chance.
I'm lit up.
No one would have been screened. No one would have been screened for that.
I'm a living testimony here.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Nobody's
going to check with me.
I
checked in time. And that come from above because waited it all culminated and came about, had to be for a reason.
And you know what?
That's my purpose.
So God is good all the time.
All the time, God is good.
There's how much pressure to put on us to get what He needs done.
We're having at our church, a combination of 4, hopefully, that we're working on for the coming up the 2nd of October. And one of the things is just from this panel listening here, when we talk about the involvement, the question came up, should we just invite the men? And the question was, no. Because if we don't invite the women, guess what? They are responsible for some of the men coming. So they're invited too. So we went through that with that little session that we had, just so that you would know, we'll have a mixed group. That's for sure, because we're inviting all. Because the message needs to get out, and we don't need to keep it sheltered. We need to
Right. And you mentioned research too. And again, that's another important thing is that, like I said, the guidelines say we stop screening at 75.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs to change.
Yeah.
But the only way we know that is if we get people in these studies.
Exactly.
You know, and so we might find that, oh, okay, well, people are living longer. 75 probably isn't the age. Maybe it needs to be 80. Maybe we screen based on your general health.
Right.
You know, and so yeah, those guidelines may change, but again, it all depends on the data coming in. And if we don't sign up for those things, we're not being considered.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Izzard, I actually quoted you while I was here in DC. I said that
Really?
I did. You always say if you're not at the table,
That's right.
you're on the menu.
You're on the menu.
And you're on the menu.
Uh-huh.
And the research that Mr. Baxter actually participated in was on the survivorship side. So they looked at healthy eating, active lifestyle after diagnosis and after the treatment was completed, and what that did specifically for African American men. So the focus of this research, and that's why it's so critical. There's not a lot of research that's done with African American men. And this research has now gone on to become what we call an evidence-based program that has been picked up by the Milwaukee Rec. And I think it's on page 16. I'm not sure, don't quote me. But you can actually take the classes that they took for $1 a week. And you can get the healthy eating plus the exercise. And this is the question I always ask. I always ask the health griots. So, Mr. Baxter, how many push-ups do you do? How many push-ups? It's
Believe it or not, just yesterday we did over 150 push-ups through the process of our workout.
Wow.
And
and the workout's what, an hour? Is it an hour workout or hour and a half?
It's an hour that we work out, and within that hour, for some reason, it seems like our trainer loves the push-up part.
Yeah,
So we wind up doing quite a bit of that. So
yeah, Mr. Leonard. So these are
it's amazing because I never would have thought when I walked into the program. I remember them talking about how many push-ups they allowed us to do them on the wall.
Mhm.
And when I finally decided to get on the floor, 13, 14 was tops. So I can say that the program works because of what I'm able to do now at age 77 is kind of unusual.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we're going to come back after the break, learn some more about the programming that's happening in the pulpit that is Healing Beyond Sunday. We want to thank our guests, and we're going to return, and we want to hear back from you too, Milwaukee. We'll see you on the other side.
Morning, Milwaukee. This is WNOV. We are discussing today the power of the pulpit, healing beyond Sunday. We have our very distinguished panel of guests here in Milwaukee, and we have Deborah Nevels, who is the host, who is out in Washington, D.C. doing the Lord's work. Say hello, Deborah.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, family. Good morning, family.
Yeah. And so we've been talking about in specific prostate cancer, but in general, the importance of trying to address your health from a more holistic biopsychosocial approach. And before the break, Pastor Donna Childs had made a statement that she does a research when she talks to her congregants about what they should do, and I'm assuming people come to you with they want you to pray for them, they want advice about what they should do that now they have a diagnosis of cancer, and we're talking about MLK. MLK made a statement about science and religion, and some of you might be familiar with it, but he said that that science and religion are not incompatible with one another. He says science investigates, religion interprets. Science gives man's knowledge, which is power. Religion gives man wisdom, which is control. Science deals with facts. Religion deals mainly with values. The two are not rivals. They're complementary. And so I know I've had patients come to me sometimes, and I'll say, okay, your hemoglobin A1C is elevated, you have diabetes. And the response is, I'm not claiming that. And so let me ask you, Pastor Child. So what do you do when when you have people that have things and maybe they're in denial about it, or they don't want to address it?
That's a great question. I think it's important for people to realize, I do have that. I do hear that. Prayer is one thing. People will say, well, I have the diagnosis, but I'm just going to pray about it. God will heal me. God will heal me. And God will and can, God, however, place individuals and procedures to help us as well on the earth. And so what I really try to do is to encourage them to know that God does use various sources and various resources and medical practitioners to help us. And then we talk it through. And that's when I begin then to share with them the facts and the research that I have found, even given numbers. And the numbers you mentioned about the high risk, even for myself as a female, because of my dad's situation, he had colon cancer and prostate. We now do our, colonoscopies sooner than what the typical range is. And so those are things that, again, as I share my own testimonies, but also going to, various conferences, they tend to then more sometimes agree to do things. And for the men, when I speak to my men's fellowship at Tabernacle, our brotherhood, I tell them I'm not a man, obviously, but just like a coach, some coaches don't play basketball, but they can coach you because of the research. And so I say, I'm your coach, spiritual coach, but also to give you information, to share with you what I found out and what I hear from other people like Dr. Izzard and the griots and those who are in the, in the throth of things that they're working with. And so, again, I'm praying they trust that. And I think a church has always been, for the most part, the Black church, that trusted pulpit. You go back to the civil rights movement, even the abolitionists, right now with the social injustices. And so if the pastors can do the research and, again, make sure things are reputable, people tend to believe more and tend to help more. Again, as that shepherd, sheep are protected. So shepherds protect their sheep. I want to protect my people in the community.
Yeah. We are unfortunately in an age now where people don't trust science, especially, it seems in the church even more so that people are just reluctant to believe any authority, and maybe it has to do also with, with social media and everybody can have a website.
Dr. Google.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so everybody now has an opinion about something. That doesn't mean they have any expertise, right. But, they can say, oh, I took Nona juice and my prostate cancer went away. Therefore, you should do the same thing. And so we do. Yeah. It's there. And the same terms, there is no excuse for us not being able to do the research. It's so easy. You pick up your phone and you Google, and you can find things out. As opposed to, and 20 years ago, you'd have to go to the library and go to the medical college, go to do literature search and find this stuff out. This stuff is in your fingertips now.
But you have to guard against confirmation bias.
Yes.
True.
The information is out there, but not all the information is accurate and correct. So going to trusted sources, going to reputable places, the Medical College of Wisconsin, Mayo Clinic, those highly reputable things, and not just because somebody decided to publish a blog that went viral. That's the the latest thing. So the information is out there, and what you don't want to do is have people keep searching for the thing until they find out what it is that they're trying to hear, until they find out what they already believe, and just have that confirmation bias. So I would say that those trusted sources is key to to go to.
What we're trying to do now too, when we look at sources that are reliable. So I went to PubMed, and they have just research and science-based facts of things that have happened with cases. So what I'll do, I'll share that, but I'll walk through that with my member. So I don't just say go to PubMed, let me help you walk it through. Or I'll bring in another resource. If I don't know it, I'm not the expert, obviously, medically. So I'll bring in someone else that can help us walk through it. So at least they can at least hear the information. They have to make their own decision, obviously, at some point. But I'm going to give you all the tools, all the resources that I have, or will find that you can make a very knowledgeable decision afterwards.
Wow, I'm impressed you go to PubMed.
I need to know.
Yeah. In fact, Brian and I were part of this group, Prostate Health Equity Project, and we had a meeting last week, and we had what's called an idea lab. So the idea is that there was this prostate cancer work group that had a grant through the Healthy Wisconsin grant. And so we looked at prostate cancer, and we decided we're going to take it to the next level. So we want to get out there and try to move the dial, because there is a huge disparity in Milwaukee, in southeastern Wisconsin, between the incidence of prostate cancer and more depressingly, your survival of prostate cancer. So if you're African American, you're more likely in our community to die from prostate cancer than if you're white. And so we're trying to figure out, why is that? Is there something about the cancer that's different? Is it something about the treatment people are getting? Is it just access? Is it people are being screened earlier? Yep. And one of the things, Brian's pulled this up, there's a map. I always refer to this heat map because it really prompted me to get involved with this group. So there's a heat map looking at the incidence of prostate cancer. Now, heat map is just you've seen these maps. They're different colors, and so usually the red are the areas where you have a hot spot where there's more of something, and then you kind of fade out, and then the blue areas usually are low incidence. So, and there's two heat maps. This is a map that was drawn up by the medical college. Someone did the research and looked at this. So the information's out there. You can find how many people have prostate cancer. So someone did the research and found out where the cases of prostate cancer were in southeastern Wisconsin. So Ozaukee County, Washington County, Milwaukee County, Racine, Kenosha. And so what they found was that there were a lot of areas, hotspots, where people where men were getting prostate cancer. It was probably just distributed out. It wasn't centralized in any specific area. More areas where people were concentrated, but it was distributed pretty uniformly out. Then we look at the deaths from prostate cancer. All the red spots were in Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha. So in the areas where Black folks are, and not just Milwaukee, but in the north side of Milwaukee. So. And that really piqued my interest. I said, why is that? It's not, and even Milwaukee, it's not from lack of healthcare centers, because we got some of the best healthcare centers. And you got Freighted Medical College, you got Aurora, you got Ascension, all these hospitals are here in the city. So it's not like people couldn't get to somebody, but somewhere along the line, things felt the ball was dropped. And it may be maybe it's the healthcare systems, maybe it's the cancer we're getting, maybe it's the way we're eating, our lifestyle. We don't know, and so we need to do further testing. But going back to this idea lab, so the idea lab was to try to figure out, okay, how do we get messages out? What's the best way to do this? And one of the questions that we asked the guys was, who is your trusted source of information? and a lot of them had no trust. So some of them it might be a person, but a lot of guys had no way to know what is good information. And that's not just prostate cancer. I think it's in general. People don't have a trusted source of information, and so a lot of times we pick up myths. We pick up, anecdotal information. Anecdotal meaning that it might apply to that one person, but there's no scientific evidence. There's no backing that says that this is going to be applicable to a number of other people. So yeah, that's a sad thing that people don't, especially in this age of information, where people don't have trusted sources of information.
Well, Dr. Izzard, the other piece that is key is a lot of people don't have medical homes.
Right.
And if you have a medical home, if you have a doctor that you trust, that's somebody else that you can take that question to.
Mr. Baxter, let me put you on the spot, Mr. Baxter. So did you have a primary doctor, and did he ever talk to you? He or she ever talk to you about getting screened for prostate cancer?
I had a primary doctor, but that conversation did not come up.
Really?
No.
Wow.
No, it didn't come up, and part of it, I take part in it too, because I made as few appointments as I possibly could. I was avoiding information as well. Yes, you could look at it from that perspective, and what it was is I had been blessed basically all of my life with good health. Coming through school, going to college, going to the military, all of those travels, good health was always around me for some reason. Okay. And you start taking things for granted. Other people get sick, but you're still well.
Right.
And then when you start your family, I took time off from work to help my family because of the ills that they might have, but it was not me.
Right.
And so you start to build this attitude that I'm okay.
Right.
And that's where the mistake come in, because speaking of diabetes, we had an opportunity to get an insurance policy that would say if I passed away, the wife and all of what we have would be covered, right? Vice versa. So we had to take a blood test. Okay, something I didn't take at any time unless it was drawing blood and they made me do it, But what happened is we took the test, and it just so happened that I did not pass. And it was a wake-up call. I had to go see a doctor. And the doctor said, after they checked me, "You want the good news or the bad news?" I said, "What is the good news?" He said, "The good news is you've been checked and you are diabetic." Okay. To me, good didn't go with that. But it just so happened that through that process, that was another diagnosis. It was accidental. I wouldn't have been checked had we not had that situation occur. You see how the Lord is right there? I was saying my prayers, but I was not realizing the blessings. And that was a true blessing there. And from that perspective, I think that's what helped me a little bit. Not totally, because I still was avoiding because I felt fine. And I found myself, when it got to the prostate cancer check, that had to be forced on. Okay. And so all of these steps along the way was indicators. Listen hard here, get checked, get checked. And so finally, when that did occur, and I look back at the whole process, I realized, how good God is, because I could have easily been wiped out of here from that first indicator and the second. Without even knowing why. And so that's one of the reasons why my drive and ambition after going through this is to reach as many people as we possibly can, any way that we possibly can. But it just so happened that the faith-based operation that I see happening now is been a very positive move for us to communicate and to get to our community. And we got communities all across America, and they're not programs like this one in place, because I've asked the questions in some of the areas that I have family. They don't have anything going on in the manner in which we have here.
Right.
You see, to allow people to be aware of this.
Do you think that there is something? Because you said that there was the prostate cancer was kind of the last thing that you actually agreed to go through with. You think there's something about cancer screening that's scary? I mean, but why people put that off? And it's not just prostate cancer, but even colon cancer screening.
The word cancer, bothers you. Cancer. Just you have cancer. You want to think, no, I don't. Okay, and so I think that had played into it, was the fact, because when you look at your family members that passed of cancer, it wasn't prostate cancer, but it was breast cancer. And it's a word that we just don't like to float around.
Right.
But we have to come to the realization that we're going to have to float it around, because people are going to have to be aware and be up to date enough to know that there is a cure, there is help. And in order for that to happen, we have to spread the word in the manner in which we're doing.
Right.
And so that's why I'm so committed to it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing too that's scary is that most of those other things that kill us, they don't have any symptoms until it's too late. And so you can go through life feeling fine and not know you have diabetes.
Absolutely.
In fact, almost 100 million Americans have pre-diabetes and don't even know it. 8 out of 10 of them don't even know they have pre-diabetes, meaning that the hemoglobin A1C is high and they're at risk for developing frank diabetes, but they don't even know it.
Right.
High blood pressure. Most people, they call it the silent killer for a reason, because most people don't know their blood pressure is high unless they're checking it. These cancers, a lot of times you don't have any symptoms. You can have prostate cancer and you don't have any symptoms of it. Or you can have, breast cancer or any other cancer and not have any symptoms until it's too late. Because usually once you start having symptoms, that means that the horse left the barn.
Yes, right.
And so once that happens, light cancer, if you can treat it early while it's still localized, your chance of survival is drastically better than once it metastasizes. Once it leaves the barn, once it starts getting through your body, it's a lot harder to treat, and your chance of survival drops precipitously.
Now, I'd mention one other thing about the research program that Deborah was asking about, talking about, in other words. In that, eating habits was part of the agenda. And it just so happened that those habits rectifies a lot of our problems that we have when it comes to prostate cancer, when it comes to breast cancer, whether it's diabetes, whatever those particulars are. If the eating habits are put in place, it has a remedy to help out with those particulars. So the total program that we had went research, I think was very, very helpful in so many ways, because it did change some of the eating habits in my family. And so now, you can look at the youngsters that's coming. We're starting to represent that now. And so that makes it, start the legacy of people being aware is very important. So I think we're playing a great part in the role and what we're doing now.
Right.
For not just ourselves, but those that are coming behind us.
Yeah. And Deborah, that's throwing out, use that word previval,
Previvor.
Yeah, previvors.
Yeah.
That's the level we want to get to, is not only about prevention of prostate cancer, primary prevention. We want to take it back to even reducing your risk
Yes,
for prostate
absolutely,
cancer or
absolutely.
any other cancer.
Yes.
And that goes to lifestyle.
Goes
And
to
that's a
lifestyle.
whole nother thing.
Mhm.
We start talking about, okay, we got the eating better.
Yeah.
How do you eat better? You got to have stores.
Yeah.
If there's no grocery stores, if there's no fresh fruit and
Right.
vegetables in your neighborhood, those things affect your ability to,
Yeah.
it's stress level, just
Mhm.
environmental toxins that we're dealing with because we live in urban areas and the traffic and all those things are they're contributing to why we get cancer, much less what we do once we get it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit more when we come back up from the break. Come back on the other side. We want you all to join us, family, in this conversation. Again, we're talking about the power of the pulpit, healing beyond Sunday. Thank you all for this conversation so far. We're going to continue on the other side.
This is Dr. Kevin Izzard here at the WNOV studios with a panel of guests talking about spiritual health and physical health and how they intersect. Our host, Deborah Nevels, is away in Washington, D.C., but she's with us through technology.
Through
Over
technology
the
that worked
airway.
for us.
Good
Yes.
morning, Deborah.
Good morning, fam. Good morning, fam. And as we continue this conversation, it is going so well. And I want to make sure that we include our community, family. Definitely call in. The number's 414-444-5253 or 414-444-5250. Want to know, have you ever heard a pastor speak about health from the pulpit? And what impact did that have on you? Or did you ever hear a leader talk about cancer at all and the importance of remaining healthy? I also want to touch on a little bit about what you talked about, Dr. Izzard and Mr. Baxter, about how healthy living and healthy eating, things that we can control. And that goes back to what Pastor Childs was talking about, the whole person. Things that we talk about in prevention is not only cancer prevention, but it can prevent so many other diseases. And understanding, and I think this is going to be a show that we'll touch on in October, is the importance of being healthy, to be able, if there's any diagnosis of a chronic illness, your health status, overall health, is important as you go into any kind of treatment. I know there was a cardio oncologist that I had a conversation with once before, and she was telling me the importance of your heart health before they even look at what your cancer treatment might be.
Right.
So it's important that your entire body is healthy
Right.
before they look at how they're going to treat any major illness such as cancer.
Yeah. Or before you have major surgery, usually the first thing they
Right.
want to do is get checked out, because no surgeon wants to put someone on the table and find out that their blood sugar is 300 and no one knew they were diabetic, or
True.
they have a heart attack after they do all this surgery because no one knew they had heart disease and they have an angina.
Exactly.
So yeah, so it all, and Brian, you kind of alluded to earlier about boy, I lost my train of thought that fast. Don't ever get old, people.
We don't like the alternative is worse. The alternative is worse. We
yeah.
don't like the alternative. Yes.
Yeah. I said, Brian, boy, it's terrible. I can't think of what I was going to say that you had said that was very important about. I can't remember. It'll come back as soon as I change the subject. It'll come right back to me. But let me ask Pastor Childs here. So, what do you find is the most pressing need that your congregation has for kind of addressing these things? Because there are limited resources, and people will pick something based on what they're going through. So it might be trauma, because we even talked about trauma and our mental health. I know I was going to talk about men, and Brian alluded to this, loneliness. Loneliness is epidemic in men, especially in men. Women are a lot better at talking about things. They get together, they get angry with each other about these men in their lives and things, and they cry it out. But men, we don't like coming together. We don't like to admit that we're vulnerable. And so there's been several studies that have come out recently looking at the effect of loneliness. Men in particular, who don't have connections, social connections, and the risk of that person dying is the same as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. It has that same effect on your health, not having close connections. Wow. And some of them may be like Mr. Baxter mentioned. When you got a wife, she's going to make you go through and do the stuff you need to do. But if you don't have somebody in your life who's making you do those things, or encouraging you to do those things, or just talk about stuff, and I'm going to switch over, Don. I'm sorry,
okay.
Pastor John. But Brian, since we're talking about this whole thing, how was the men's group helping with that, and what do you guys talk about, and have you found that to be true in your experience?
I think men have connections, but they may not be as deep.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we're going to get together and we're going to watch the game, and talk about the game or who drafted who got traded,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not going to really understand what's going on in each other's lives.
Right.
Right. So it's not just about being alone or isolated, but it's that depth of conversation. What it is that we're talking about. We could be going through something and have a great time, dinner, or hang out, and not really communicate that with the guy we were just spent all these hours with.
Exactly.
I like to golf. I could spend 4 hours in a golf cart with somebody and may not know too much more about them or what they're going through than I knew before that. So I think we have that kind of built into our into the way that we operate, to really operate at more of a superficial level.
Right.
And I think getting down into those deeper things and being a little bit more vulnerable, or having those conversations, especially with the trusted advisor you talked earlier about. Do you have a trusted advisor? And I try to have different circles. So there's some things that I'm going to trust this group with that I'm not going to trust that group with.
Right.
And so how do I go and find out and pick, those things without just picking the one that's going to tell me what I want to hear, but also getting to the point sooner than I'm going to go to the person who will tell me what I need to hear.
Right.
And I think that's the piece. And how do we address that? So our group tries to, bring those things about, and we do that through various events, and I try to vary those things, so we're not just doing social events, we're not just doing ministry, but we have a variety of different things that we're touching on, so that we can not only find what people are comfortable with, but to put ourselves in different situations that we can get a broader glimpse into the guy that we may be sitting in a pew next to for 20 years and really know their first and last name.
Yeah. Yeah. The church is really terrible about that. You ask people, how you doing? Oh, I'm blessed. And really inside, they're dying. They're going through all kinds of stuff, and we don't want to bring it up. We want people to know
or even if
business.
they do come up and say, I need you all to pray for me, they may not tell you exactly what it is that you're supposed to be praying for. So how do we get beyond that, to have that level of trust and extend that faith to our fellow human being?
Yeah, and that's such a good lead in, and Dr. Izzard has to depart, but we will be able to continue this conversation. Dr. Izzard, thank you so much for adding in.
You're welcome. Yeah, I got patience.
Truly, yes, he's got patience. He's got to do that doctor thing. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
God bless you all.
Yes. Continuing on that same vein of the conversation that he started, Mr. Baxter, looking at, I think that's one of the things that was a finding from the research that we found was really interesting, and that led us to solidify what we were doing with the health griots, because one of the plus things, even after the program was, I believe, 16 weeks with the research study, and even after the study component was done, the men kept coming and are still coming to do the exercises. And part of what we learned was that it was the socialization, it was the coming together, it was supporting one another that you all continue to do that was so important.
Right. You're absolutely right. It formed a brotherhood that I had not been involved with before. And I think a lot of the ones that are there now probably had the same situation. They had not been involved with a group that liked meeting, greeting, and talking about whatever the problems might be. And we found that there were certain ones that even then would listen, but they had nothing to say. But as time went on, the conversation came. And so we found ourselves, as they've always said, you have some that probably run their mouth a little more than others. And so that happens in groups. It's kind of ironic. We close out all of our activities with prayer.
Yes.
and we pray for traveling grace to the destinations. And so I found myself giving that prayer at the end of all of these sessions. And I'm looking around and I'm saying, I know it's somebody else here that prays. If not, we're going to make sure that they start. And so I said to the coach, at the end of these sessions, we're going to have a silent moment here and allow volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, people start praying. People start closing the meeting with prayer. So it started that brotherhood that we're talking about. We started to make phone calls before we were coming back to make sure that everybody was okay. If we heard about one not being a present, we wanted to know why. If one was having issues, in addition to the treatment that they had, we wanted to know what was going on. So the concern for each other started to develop, and it has developed a brotherhood that is almost generational now, because you had classes coming in every 16 weeks. And so we find ourselves still there for the class that's coming in. And that class, some of those hang around for the next one that's coming in. And so now the brotherhood has just grown. And so we find ourselves being able to communicate outside of the arena with each other. So it works. And as the gentleman next to me here has said, we are guilty of not talking about our situations, but we're ready to talk football. So we had to come out of that arena and get into the arena of concern for each other. And I think that's what is developed out of this group that we have. There's a growing concern for those that are participating and those families that exist. And we want, and you could poll each one of them and they tell you they want to go beyond that, because we realize the need for it. So that's where we are. And I give a lot of credit to the fact of the formulation of not only the research, but getting in the gym after the program was over.
Yeah.
And that connection paid off.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's incredible. It's the residual impact of just what started out as a study ended up to solidify relationship building. And it's so important. And I think part of what you often see, as was mentioned earlier, somebody comes up, as Dr. Izard mentioned, and says, "How you doing?" And it's not, we don't necessarily wait for the answer, or we get that common answer. People ask me and I'm like, blessed. And even if I'm having pains and aches, it's like, well, nobody's going to listen. It's the regular, I don't want to always be complaining. And, it's just, I'm blessed. I am. I woke up this morning. I'm blessed. And it's the attitude that you feel you're supposed to have. But then who do you stop and go, it's not so good today. And I need to talk to somebody today, later on. And do you have time for coffee? Can we just talk about, what's going on? And I think, Mr. Mitchell, with what you're forming with St. Mark AME, you all did the Pinna Brother back in early September on the 14th, not too like a week ago. Yeah. This past Sunday, yes. And starting that accountability, but also that preliminary conversation. Do you see or foresee that the conversations will be able to continue so that it's an authentic relationship that continues to build?
That's the hope and the desire. We start with conversation and understanding that, yes, at St. Mark, we are a graying congregation. So there are a number of survivors in our congregation, and understanding that, and who's willing to have those discussions with folks, and who can we call on when someone gets the diagnosis to pair them up to say, hey, well, you need to go talk to brother so and so because he's been through this before. And having brother so and so, we have Vincent Butler, who is one of the griots as well. So I know I can call on him, and there's a couple of other guys that I know are willing and ready to talk about their journey at the drop of a hat or
Absolutely.
at any request. But then it's also about, yes, we have a number of members who have survived. We have members who have been checked, and then we have members and family members who need to be checked. And so, how do we extend those things out to make those opportunities available? So, when we have those opportunities to host the health fair, when we have the opportunities to publicize other health fairs or screenings that need to happen, how can we do that to make that information available? Because it doesn't have to happen at St. Mark. We're not trying to be that, but it's really about the information and the health of the men in the community and being a part of that overall. And to God be the glory, and let us not be seeking it for ourselves.
Exactly. And Pastor Childs, what do you think, or what do you foresee being the ultimate goal of the work that you're doing with your Pinna Brother that's coming up on the 28th?
It really is to inform and to, again, give knowledge. I think, again, it's, as was just said a second ago, it's not about Tabernacle doing it, but I just want people to be informed and have all the correct information. And that hopefully then will kind of make them motivated to at least learn, to want to do more than what they're doing right now. Also hearing testimonies, a little bit of positive peer pressure, hopefully is what I'm hoping to receive from the Pinna Brothers Sunday as they hear others speak about their journey, as I'm hearing today, that they'll be motivated. I heard someone once say that we all need to be the CEO of our health. And I thought that was just a powerful statement. And that really helps me when I'm in the store and I say I'm the CEO. I turn away from some of the things I would get and go back to, I need vegetables and fruit, because again, I'm the CEO. No one else is going to monitor me and help me like I will do it. No one else is going to make me go to the doctor like I will do it if I'm the CEO. So I'm hoping the 28th is at Tabernacle, that again the men will hear and they'll be prompted to really understand, and then by us bringing again in resources and materials and things that will help them, along with those that love them in their lives, that they will help them on this journey, and they'll be excited about it.
And one thing to point out, Tabernacle, St. Mark AME, this, when we talk about the building, it is not that it is just for this congregation. It is for that community that they serve. And that community is anyone who drives by, walks by, hears this message that this is what's going on, that you come in and it is open to anyone who walks through those doors. Absolutely. So when you hear that there are activities coming on, and that's the one thing, one of the reasons why we wanted to emphasize the power of the pulpit, because all of the congregations that work with us, it is not, we work with them intentionally because they reach a community, and that community goes beyond their congregation. And even after the 28th, it's the 29th, it's the 30th. The members of that congregation they continue that reach, and there's continued programming for your health. So it is something that goes beyond just the four walls. Pastor Charles, what time is your event, or what time are you doing your event on Sunday, on the 28th?
Yes, the service begins at 10 a.m. and so we'll have it during our service time.
Yes, so come in get there early, because it's going to be crowded, y'all. Yeah, there won't be an empty seat. So get there early so you can see and be part of this Pinna Brother. And the health griots are doing this Pinna Brother in the during the month of September, but they're moving it throughout the year that they are doing this event, collaborating with our churches in our community. And they are available. Mr. Baxter, are you doing another event with St. Mark and Sons of Allen?
Yeah, we probably, yes. And the answer is yes. most of the times when you speak to me, because I don't want to miss, giving whatever effort I possibly can to any of the events that's going on, because I realize the importance of it. And
Okay.
at CCKM, uh,
And
we
CCKM, what does that stand for?
yes, that's Christian Kingdom Ministries, and
Thank you.
and where we are is at 6111 North Titonia, and our event that we're having uh, is coming up on the 2nd of October, and it's a Thursday, and hopefully we will have a combination of all of the things that we're discussing here being presented at that time, and it's going to be supposedly about 4 congregations
Mhm.
coming together to try and make this event really reach as many people as possible in our communities and in our churches. So
Awesome.
we're looking forward for more advertisement on that as we
Awesome.
move forward.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Mitchell, any upcoming events for you? I apologize, I misspoke.
Not in this regard. We do
Okay.
have an ongoing partnership with the Medical College of Wisconsin, a cancer outreach initiatives, both from a health base and focusing on men's health with Ambrose.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. And Pastor Childs, the address for Tabernacling, just in case somebody doesn't know.
Absolutely. Tabernacle is located at 2500 West Medford Avenue. That's 2 blocks north of North Avenue.
Awesome.
Thank
So
you.
this Sunday, 10 a.m., or I'm
The
sorry, on the
28th,
28th,
4th Sunday.
September 28th, the fourth Sunday, on the 28th at 10 a.m., Tabernacle is doing their Pinna Brother. If you or any church is interested, or anyone is interested in cancer prevention, education, activities, please reach out. My number 414-955-2364. Thank you so much, Milwaukee family. Thank you so much to our guest, and to Debo and Jermaine. Thank you so much. We'll see you first Friday, where we'll continue this conversation of prevention. Thank you to my guests. Thank you, Milwaukee. Have a blessed weekend.